Coming up on this Monday edition of Daybreak, ahead of a summit with her Vietnamese counterpart later today, President Park Geun-hye visiting Hanoi calls for the two nations to cooperate on nuclear plant construction. Infrastructure projects and a bilateral FTA are also part of the president's sales diplomacy. The nation's two rival parties are still at loggerheads over the arrest of a leftist lawmaker on treason charges and the spy agency's alleged meddling in last year's presidential election. The ruling party says it is prepared to unilaterally operate parliament. Plus, counting down to the Senate's decision on a military strike in Syria, US Secretary of State John Kerry says the Assad regime's use of chemical weapons on civilians crossed a global red line. In his latest interview, President Assad denies ordering a chemical weapons attack. Daybreak begins now.
You're watching Daybreak on Monday, September 9th, and I'm Choi Yusun here in Seoul. We start things off with President Park Geun-hye's state visit to Vietnam this week, where the president met with Korean and Vietnamese businessmen in Hanoi on Sunday. During talks, she stressed the need for the two countries' better cooperation in areas of nuclear plant construction, infrastructure projects, and free trade. Our presidential correspondent Oh Jin-ju, traveling with the president, sent us this report.
President Park has emphasized the importance of the newly emerging economic bloc, which is the so-called VIP, V standing for Vietnam, I for Indonesia, and P for the Philippines. During a dinner with Korean and Vietnamese businessmen on Sunday, President Park said the reason she chose Vietnam as the first country among the ASEAN member nations for her overseas trip was because of her firm belief in the future the two countries will build. President Park also stressed that Korea and Vietnam should expand cooperation to higher value-added sectors in line with the economic development in both countries. Nuclear power plant construction was one of them.
원전 건설 협력이 구체화되면 베트남 경제의 안정적 성장에 크게 기여할 뿐만 아니라 양국 간 경제 협력의 새로운 지평을 열게 될 것입니다.
Earlier in the day, President Park attended a fashion show of the two countries' traditional attire, Korea's hanbok and Vietnam's áo dài. She herself wore a hanbok with a light blue top and a lemon-colored dress and expressed her hopes for the two countries to cooperate in harmony, just as the two traditional costumes blend together.
베트남의 아름다운 아오자이와 또 한국의 고운 한복이 이렇게 한 자리에서 양국의 문화를 나눌 수 있는 소중한 기회를 갖게 돼서 매우 기쁘게 생각합니다.
On Monday, President Park is scheduled to hold bilateral talks with Vietnamese President Truong Tan Sang, after which the two leaders are expected to adopt a joint statement for joint prosperity. As the key focus of President Park's Vietnam trip is her sales diplomacy, Senior Presidential Secretary for Foreign Affairs Cho Cheol-gi explained she will call on the Vietnamese government to support Korean companies in winning bids for nuclear power plant construction and major national infrastructure projects. She's also expected to ask Vietnam to quickly push ahead with free trade agreement negotiations and improving the business environment for investment. Oh Jin-ju, Arirang News, Hanoi.
The United States has ruled out resuming the long-stalled six-party nuclear talks, at least until North Korea shows a clear willingness to abandon its nuclear program. The comments came during U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for East Asian and Pacific Affairs Daniel Russell's recent interview with a Seoul-based Yonhap news agency. Russell said the purpose of the multilateral talks is to draw up a roadmap to achieve the complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula with a clear timetable. He said the most important question for reopening the talks is whether North Korea can accept the fundamental goal of the negotiations. Russell met with South Korean officials in Seoul late last week as part of his Asia tour, which also included stops in Beijing and Tokyo. Military authorities of South Korea and the U.S. have completed their joint nuclear deterrence strategy against North Korean nuclear threats. Seoul-based Yonhap News reports that a senior South Korean official said Sunday Seoul and Washington have been working on the strategy for the past 10 months. Both sides will sign the document at the next U.S. ROK Security Consultative meeting scheduled for early next month. The strategy document is known to include how both countries would react politically, diplomatically, and militarily in the event that North Korea launches a nuclear attack. Tensions are escalating between South Korea's rival parties over a scandal involving a minor opposition lawmaker's alleged treason attempt. Chairman of the main opposition Democratic Party, Kim Han-gil, said Sunday that the ruling Saenuri Party has its roots in dictatorship. The comments come after the ruling Saenuri Party has been blaming the DP for helping the leftist Unified Progressive Party win parliamentary seats in past elections. The Saenuri Party slammed Kim's comments, saying they could provide more leeway for organizations with pro-North Korea tendencies. The ruling party also said it will push ahead with the operation of the National Assembly unilaterally if it fails to reach an agreement with the DP over the schedule for the September regular parliamentary session. Starting next year, the central government and municipalities will adopt a 5-hour part-time work system that is expected to increase employment. The Ministry of Employment and Labor on Sunday announced plans to add the 5-hour part-time work system to the existing 8-hour full-time work structure. The plan, which comes as part of the ministry's efforts to achieve a 70% employment rate, will allow 2 people to work 5 hours each per day instead of one working the full 8 hours. The part-time workers will receive equal treatment as full-time workers, including their hourly wage and access to promotion. The ministry plans to create 9,000 part-time positions by 2017. Latest figures show more and more Koreans are staying away from domestic seafood and turning to imported marine goods due to concerns about radioactive water leaks from Japan's stricken Fukushima nuclear power plant. According to a major discount store, Lotte Mart, sales of the popular fish pollack and mackerel fell by over 60% and 30% respectively in the month of August compared to the same period last year. Sales of lobsters from Canada and the U.S. spiked by 8-fold last month, while sales of domestic crab only increased by 16%. Korea has also been seeing a drop in imported Japanese fisheries products. Seafood from Japan made up 10% of total imports back in 2010, but this number plunged to a little over 3% as of last year. A recent report shows that sluggish growth in Korea's manufacturing industry could have a negative impact on the nation's competitiveness. The Seoul-based Hyundai Research Institute said Sunday that Korea's competitive edge in the manufacturing sector is falling behind the U.S. and Japan. Korea ranked 5th this year in the Global Manufacturing Competitiveness Index, compiled by a consulting firm Deloitte, down from 3rd place in 2010. The institute called on the government to adopt business-friendly policies as a means to promote investment from local manufacturing companies.
If you want the latest news from Korea and around the world.
Return to the negotiations.
President Park Geun-hye, given the current circumstances.
On your way to work or at home.
Defense Ministry. The legislature will convene a...
Tune into Daybreak on Arirang TV.
Prime Minister Shinzo Abe said Tuesday. U.S. President Barack Obama's hard sell to convince a skeptical Congress to back his plan to attack Syria is struggling to gain traction. However, key Arab nations have agreed that the Assad regime crossed a global red line for its alleged chemical weapons attack last month, which killed hundreds of civilians. Our Kim Ji-yeon reports.
The Obama administration is facing an uphill battle in its attempt to convince members of Congress to approve military action against Syria. A congressional survey carried out by the Washington Post shows 223 House members were leaning against authorizing the use of U.S. military force in the conflict-torn country. In an attempt to boost support, the Obama administration released graphic video footage to senators and American media outlets over the weekend showing victims of the alleged chemical attack. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry spoke in Paris Sunday to bolster support for military intervention after meeting with key Arab foreign ministers. Kerry said the Arab countries agreed the use of chemical weapons by the Bashar al-Assad regime crossed an international global red line. Syrian President Assad continues to deny all the allegations, saying the evidence produced by Obama is not conclusive and can be refuted. Assad also warned Syria would retaliate if a strike was made by an external force. Ahead of Wednesday's crucial test vote in the Senate, Obama is expected to give interviews to 6 news networks on the topic and present a grand speech on Syria. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
The U.S. National Security Agency is reportedly capable of hacking into all major smartphones by leading manufacturers, including Apple's iPhone and BlackBerry. Quoting internal NSA documents, German weekly news magazine Der Spiegel reports the agency can tap into private information held on smartphones, such as contact lists, text messages, notes, and locations. However, the German magazine added that the NSA used a smartphone hacking technique on specific individuals rather than carrying out mass public surveillance. The magazine didn't specify how it got its hands on the document, but AP reports that one of the contributing writers of the story is an American documentary filmmaker who is in close contact with U.S. intelligence leaker Edward Snowden. The next wave of young college graduates here in Korea is attempting to break into the nation's competitive job market. Companies have been trying to ease the burden on these new job seekers by putting less emphasis on test scores and the so-called specifications. Our Kim Hyun-ji shows us what job recruiters are doing to diversify their workforce.
It's the start of another long meeting for this company's human resources team as they carefully pour through another stack of job applications. But this time, they are taking a different recruiting approach by solely focusing on an online essay. The applicant's age, grades, and school are never revealed during the blind hiring process, which aims to reduce discrimination in the job market.
We've begun adopting a new approach in order to recruit individuals with more practical skills and talents. After some discussion, we've introduced this essay screening process.
Government agencies have been mandated to adopt similar hiring standards, with the trend also catching on among Korea's largest conglomerates. Experts say it's an attempt to move away from the nation's obsession with a spec culture that pushes workers to pump up their resumes with certificates, licenses, and high English proficiency test scores. Many job seekers fear that without an abundance of these credentials, they will never even make the first cut for an interview. Here at this job fair organized by a local university, corporate recruiters reassure young applicants that things have changed, but many are skeptical.
Sometimes I have my doubts that the system is run fairly. They say the evaluation process is anonymous and that there are blind interviews, but who knows? In reality, they could be looking at everything.
Since there are no standards, I think it's quite possible that people are taking part in unfair practices despite what they say.
It's important that companies are recognizing the need for a diverse pool of applicants, but change will likely come slowly as expectations continue to climb amid a shrinking number of highly sought-after jobs. Kim Hyun-ji, Arirang News.
A new report from the Korea Consumer Agency shows that the amount of money spent on food and education represents the highest economic burden on households nationwide. The survey results also show that a growing number of Koreans feel they're falling out of the middle class amid the sluggish economy. Our Paul Lee reports.
The Korea Consumer Agency surveyed some 1,500 men and women across the country on their spending habits over the past year. Respondents were asked what particular expenses they felt were the greatest economic burdens in their lives. More than a quarter of the people surveyed said that food costs amounted to their biggest annual expenditure. Education was second on the list, followed by housing and medical spending. Despite the high costs, Koreans placed a high importance on spending related to their diet and education. A majority of the respondents also said they felt a heavy economic burden from imported agricultural, livestock, and marine products. A further investigation by the state agency found consumer satisfaction to be low for marriage, funeral arrangements, clothing, and other expenses, as they felt the level of service didn't justify the high prices. Experts say it's a result of Korean households feeling that their overall spending power has weakened amid the sluggish economy. Economic sentiment among Koreans aged 20 years and older has been steadily declining. The percentage of survey respondents who perceive themselves as being in the lower income bracket rose to over a third this year, up from less than 18% back in 2012. Meanwhile, only about 60% now consider themselves in the middle class, compared to 80% some 10 years ago. The National Consumer Agency says the results of their survey show a need for additional and more specific measures to address the growing voice of burdened consumers. Paul Yi, Arirang News.
And a good Monday morning to you all as we kick things off with Sunday's KBO action. Now the SK Wyverns jumped to an early lead against the NC Dinos and took the game 10-6, with the Hanoi Eagles sweeping the Kia series with an 8-7 victory last night. So with that said, let's take a look at the other two big games that took place last night, starting off with the Doosan Bears taking on the Nexen Heroes. Of course, now we go over to the fourth inning of the game. Here's Yang Yi-ji, a two-run shot to center field. This one is gone, and the Doosan Bears take the lead 2-0. Now, bottom of the inning, here's Kang Jong-ho. This time drills this one to deep left field, a two-run shot, and it's a tied ball game. Now, fifth inning of the game, here's O.J. Ear, a sac fly to deep right field, gives the Doosan Bears the lead once again before Lee Suk singles to right, and it's 4-2 Doosan. Now we go over to the same inning here, bottom of the inning, check that. Nexen's Munuram, an RBI single to right center field, and the score is now 4-3 Doosan Bears. Shifting to the seventh, former Doosan Bear, here's Lee Sung-yeol, drills this pitch to deep right field. No doubt about it, a solo shot ties the ball game 4-4. Eighth inning, here's Kim Jae-ho, the Doosan Bears bunts this over to the pitcher, good enough for an RBI as Kim Dong-han scores, giving the Doosan Bears the 5-4 lead. But bottom of the inning with one man on, here's Park Geun-hye, sends one to right field. Kim Hyun-soo leaps, and it's gone. A two-run shot gives the Nexen Heroes the 6-5 lead. And that's your ball game. Nexen sweeps the Doosan series 6-5, your final score. And next up, the LG Twins taking on the Samsung Lions. First inning, Bae Young-sup to start things off for Samsung drills this one to left, a leadoff home run as the Samsung Lions take an early 1-0 lead. Now same inning, this time Chung Sung-hoon of the LG Twins, a two-run shot to left field, and the LG Twins now take the lead 2-1 after one inning. Shifting to the fourth inning, Park Yong-taek at bat, an RBI single extends LG's lead to 3-1. We're going to fast forward to the seventh inning of the game. Here's Lion King Lee Seung-yup at bat. He grounds this one to second base, a force out at second that scores Park Sung-min, and the deficit is cut to 3-2. But here come the LG Twins once again. Lee Byung-gyu, a two-run single to left center field, gives the LG Twins the 5-2 lead. Eighth inning, Samsung Lions starts rolling back here. Here's Park Han-hee, an infield single to second base, scores a run before the Samsung Lions get a bases-loaded chance with Kim Tae-won drawing a walk here, and it's 5-4 LG Twins. Now a close game all around, but the rally is cut short as the LG Twins split this series 5-4. And staying in baseball, but over in the majors, where Im Chang-yong of the Chicago Cubs made his major league debut over the weekend against the Milwaukee Brewers as the 37-year-old reliever pitched 2/3 of an inning, giving up no runs in the 7th inning. Now, he was a bit shaky in his debut, but a successful debut nonetheless. And of course, now moving on to the K-League Classic, where Busan I-Park and FC Seoul drew 0-0 after 90 minutes of play, with the Ulsan Hyundai Tigers pulling away with a 2-1 victory over Incheon United. So with that said, let's take a look at the third game of the day, the Pohang Steelers taking on the Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors. Now here we go, in this match should be a good one, but right off the bat, 7th minute of the match, here's Pohang's No Byung-jun finding the back of the net. And Pohang takes an early 1-0 lead. First half finishes 1-0 for Pohang, but in the second half, 51st minute, let's make this 2-0 Pohang, thanks to Park Sung-ho sending one past the goalkeeper. But we're not done yet. 7 minutes later, 58th minute, here's Park Sung-ho once again a double in the match, and it's 3-0 Pohang. Now, Jeonbuk more aggressive on goal in this match, but Pohang's defense too much as the Steelers take this match 3-0. And next up, the 2013 college basketball tournament, where 4 schools are facing off in the semifinals. Now, Yonsei University pulls away with a 75-70 win over Korea University on Sunday, tying the series at 1 apiece. Now, also, Kyunghee University sneaking past Hanyang University in a close game here, 70-68, as Kyunghee University sweeps the series and goes to the finals for the 4th straight year. And finishing things off with the Olympics here, good news for Japan as Tokyo was able to win the rights to the 2020 Summer Games, but even better news for all you wrestling fans out there as the sport is set to make a comeback in the 2020 Olympics. Now, out of the 95 votes from the IOC members, wrestling received 49 votes, compared to baseball and softball with 24 and squash with 22 votes. While the wrestling world was in shock after the sport was removed as one of the 25 core sports, fans can rest easy now knowing that it'll be back soon. Now that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Happy Monday morning to you. I'm Lee Ji-hyun with your latest weather updates. Well, wasn't weather so nice on a weekend? I hope you took full advantage of it. And if you couldn't, it's okay. We're going to have another pleasant day today. A temperature will be approaching mid to upper 20s in most regions with a fair amount of sunshine in the afternoon. Well, right now we are seeing light haze in some of the inland regions this morning, but visibility isn't too bad, so you shouldn't have a problem with the visibility out on the roads. But what could be a problem is that the fact it's a Monday, because we all know Monday mornings are always heavier on the traffic jam, so give yourself extra time to get to work. Now, morning fog will clear out quickly with a welcome sunrise, and after a burn of morning fog, conditions will turn into sunnier and warmer. Now, tomorrow, the similar weather pattern is on tap for most regions. In fact, the weather outlook for this week is looking good, but on Wednesday, we have showers in the southern provinces, and on Friday, Saturday, autumn rain is in store for other regions as well, but no showers today. And let's take a look at today's numbers. Daytime highs in Seoul will rise to 26 degrees Celsius, that's 79 degrees in Fahrenheit, and afternoon highs in Daegu and Gwangju and Busan will all get up into the high 20s. Let's take a look at other regions. It looks like Jeju and Daejeon is expected to get up to 27 and 23, while Mount Kumgang will be in the mid-teens. Now that's all for Korea, and here's the global forecast for viewers around the world. That's all I have for you this morning. Enjoy your Monday morning commute and have a wonderful day.
And those are the stories we have for you this hour. Thank you for being with us.